Welcome back to another tropical forecast here by Asian Weather Forecast. Hurricane Isaias has now formed here in the Caribbean a couple hours ago of last night, and we now have hurricane watches for portions of Florida, hurricane warnings for all of the Bahamas, and now we have a widespread tropical storm watches for southeastern Florida. It is a 50-50 chance for a Florida landfall or a skinning of Florida. It's actually almost exactly a 50% chance, so I cannot tell you it's going to make landfall with a 100% guarantee, or I can't tell you it's going to skin Florida and not make landfall with a 100% guarantee. Really, we haven't had a western or eastern trend. Really, it's kind of like an even trend. It's just a little bit more miles between going east and a little bit more between going west. Really, if it continues to weaken, which it has weakened because a little dry air and convection is weakening, if this continues to weaken, it will hit Florida. But also, models are continuing to show it actually starting to strengthen. So if it starts to strengthen now, then it won't hit Florida. So we really have to wait and see if it strengthens or if it continues to weaken. Really, it is expected to possibly continue to strengthen here. We have a huge new center and all of that, so possibly, maybe this won't make a landfall for Florida. I would probably say there's more chance that it won't hit Florida than it will hit Florida, but we're going to monitor this very closely. It's going to be a very close call. We can definitely see tropical storm, if not hurricane force winds for inland areas of Florida here. But without further ado, let's get this tropical forecast. So most of today's video, we're going to be looking at the cone timing and who can get affected by the storm. But here we got Hurricane Isaias right here in the Caribbean, right there at 75 miles an hour and 992 millibars. It has slowed down to 16 millibars, which is why this could possibly continue to strengthen and maybe do that northern turn like that. That could very well exactly why it could possibly strengthen here, and that could maybe make it avoid Florida. There it is, 75 miles an hour. It was actually 80 miles an hour earlier this morning, so it has weakened, but that's because it has gone through a little bit of dry air and also convection and wind shear has kind of taken it apart. But really, it is expected to actually continue now to, instead of weakening, to actually possibly strengthen now. So really, it's a matter of time. If it weakens, if it stays the same right now, it possibly will hit Florida or skin the coast and make a landfall officially just right on the coast of the low pressure. But if it continues now to possibly maybe getting to the strengthening phase, we'll possibly have it going to the Grand Bahama Island and then possibly hitting the North Carolina area. So really, it's really unknown about basically what this storm will do. As you see, we have quite a ton of convection on the storm right now. Let's actually move our little, there we go. As you see, we have a ton of convection on the storm right there. It actually did fall apart over last night. That dry air did take it apart. Let me show you guys. That dryer did take it apart, but it is organizing a lot more. That's exactly why this thing can possibly be strengthening. There you saw that wind shear kind of started taking apart that storm right there. It splits it in half, and that storm was really starting to fall apart at that point over last night this morning. But look, now it is starting to really come and become a lot more organized. We have a lot more center convection there. It is closed once again, having possibly our new center developing. So this could possibly be strengthening at this point. But there it is, that cyclonic rotation, low pressure. It is pretty organized. Its trade winds will be taking it to the northwest in general. It's just a matter of time. We'll take a sharp northwestern turn or slowly a northwestern turn into Florida. That's exactly what we're really monitoring. Here's the IR brightness. As you see, that convection kind of did fall apart overnight. There you see boom kind of fell apart and split up, but now it's developing a new center. There's that beautiful convection. So this storm is possibly organizing and if not strengthening. Here's the new National Hurricane Center update. Here we got the tropical storm or hurricane warnings, I believe, for Turks and Caicos and all of the Bahamas there, as we have hurricane force winds. And as you see, the National Hurricane Center does show getting extremely close to that Florida area. It's this close to possibly making a landfall. So really, I guess you can see this is a kind of a slight western shift here. But I'm not sure. I'm not really exactly sure about this landfall right now, because if it is organizing and strengthening, it possibly won't make a landfall. It's probably going to go right over the Grand Bahama Island and then head for North Carolina. Here we got hurricane watches for portions of the, actually now we just updated. We now have tropical storm warnings now for portions of Florida. That's including Miami, and portions of the south central portions of Florida are under tropical storm warnings. And now we have hurricane watches for portions of the central Florida coast. We have TS warnings and hurricane watches right now for Florida. And then we have hurricane warnings for portions of all the Bahamas. A scary thought, especially since we just saw Dorian. We really don't want to see hurricane warnings in those areas already. Here we got it here. The models are actually really starting to strengthen, and then boom, making a landfall in North Carolina right there. As you see, the majority of the models don't show it making a landfall really. But really at this point, it's kind of unknown whether this will make a landfall or not. It's going to be a really close call. It's really going to be quite a close, extremely close call, really. I will say that there's kind of some models doing eastern trend and some is doing a western trend. But as a tropical tidbits, the majority are doing it, avoiding Florida, but getting extremely close and then taking that northeastern turn, either hitting the Myrtle Beach area or all the way up into the Outer Banks. And this could possibly affect the northeast a lot more than we expected here, due to that potential maybe it weakening, so not taking that turn immediately or a sharp turn. Here's another track. As you see, a couple, 1 or 2 miles due to it making landfall, but of course the majority due to it kind of taking that northeastern turn, getting very close to that coast, and then doing that turn affecting either South Carolina or North Carolina. I probably see North Carolina as the main target for a landfall at this point. Florida and North Carolina are kind of really really close at this point. But I think if there's a better probability for any state, North Carolina has a very almost a guarantee for a landfall. Florida, on the other hand, is really on the fence. Here's another guidance here for potential tracks. As you see, they show the cone's kind of like this at this point. Still, we have around 3 or 4 miles so hitting Florida, but the majority, I would say like 70-80% of the other miles still kind of just getting very close to that coast, and then affecting and heading for the Carolinas. Here's a look at the new GFS model. As you see, GFS is now showing it possibly affecting the Grand Bahama Island at 992 millibars. And I guess it shows it making landfall right there for the western coast, for the central coast of Florida. If this does make a landfall in Florida, I don't think it's going to be the southeast area near Miami. I think it would be kind of near the West Palm Beach area or north of West Palm Beach, where we had those hurricane watches. And then GFS is coming back out to the coast and possibly making landfall for a portion of the South Carolina and the Carolina borders, really. So GFS shows it kind of making a landfall in Florida, but kind of a very brief landfall, and then possibly going back out into the coast and affecting the southeast, especially South Carolina and North Carolina border. European model shows it possibly making landfall here for portions of central Florida as well, the central coast of Florida. So really, big models are really showing these making landfall, but the majority of the tracks are showing it not making landfall. And the European model has been pretty bad on the storm in general. So I don't know. It's going to be a very close call. And then it should be coming out back to see like the GFS, and then making landfall in the areas of North Carolina there. Let's go and check out the icon as well. The precipitation here. Icon is now, let's check this out with the icon. If this can actually load up for us. There we go. It's actually loading up a lot faster. So icon should possibly be a lot weaker than any other model shows, but it's kind of showing a general track that's possible where the low pressure just goes over Florida, maybe enough for it to be a landfall, and then it hits areas near the Wilmington area and then affects the Outer Banks. Last thing we'll be looking at here as well is actually, let's go check out the winds first. Let's check out the winds before you check that out. Let's go back to the let's actually check out the GFS. I kind of want to look at the GFS. The nav gem now shows it making landfall in the Keys and then going to go, which is exactly why I'm not showing it, because that will not happen. As you see, let's check out the GFS here. This will definitely not go in the Gulf. So the nav gem was really good at the start of the storm. And now I guess it's just getting really bad. I guess we jinxed it. The Europeans making a comeback. The nav gem is doing the opposite. It's kind of choking, as people say. As you see there, possibly GFS doing it, possibly bringing over, of course, Category 1 force winds, and then making a landfall. This thing actually wants to load up for us. Please load up. I don't understand why this never loads. There we go. Possibly making landfall, though, but on the weaker side. As you see, the western part of the storm probably will be kind of weak at that point, and then it possibly most likely strengthen again before affecting the North Carolina region there. So yeah, that's kind of that. I have no idea why the GFS does not want to. I don't know why the 66 hours doesn't want to come out. I don't understand. We got 84 hours though. There we go. As you see, possibly hitting the areas of the Outer Banks, perhaps making a direct landfall near Wilmington, but affecting portions of the Outer Banks. Let's go check out now. Last but not least, the icon. Actually, we can check out the H wharf as well, the HWRF, if we want to here. But as you see, this is where we possibly have the icon. But yeah, actually the icon's taking too long to load, guys. I'm sorry, the icon's taking way too long to load. Here we have the H Wharf here on simulated I4 brightness. As you see, there it is. It was really falling apart overnight, and look, now it's expected to possibly, if this does want to come out, it is possibly expected to close up and bring in a new center right there. So that means it will possibly not hit Florida, and as you see, it really comes together between the Big Island, the Bahamas, and then it shows it obviously going up the coast of Florida because it does strengthen in time. And look at that. That is a monster storm. This could possibly be a sign of it really strengthening over waters and then hitting the North Carolina area, really. So basically, in the end, Florida and North Carolina landfall are likely. Florida's kind of really on the fence. I will have another more detailed video coming out later this evening here. I'm kind of in a rush, so I kind of had to go a little fast in this video. I do apologize for that. But without further ado, hope you guys enjoy the day, and bye, guys.